Hi, everybody. It's Miss Cole here to talk about one of my favorite books again. This one is Epic by Conor Kostick. And it does go this way, not like this, even though it's easier to read if you hold it like this. One of the things that I like about this is the way that it opens. And there's some description. It's quiet, kind of glum. And then at the bottom of the page, the main character's mother comes in and very bluntly says, "I'm dead." Okay, so immediately I'm curious, and why is she? I mean, she's not gonna be dead. Clearly, she's speaking present tense and she means it that way. It's an easy, fun read. It moves quickly. The characters are engaging, and the concept is that this is a society in which violence is socially unacceptable. And the way that this has been developed is that all adjudication happens through dueling in an MMO, a worldwide network to which everyone has access. And that's something that they've prioritized because it allows them to take all disputes and create the social expectation that all of this will be settled through dueling in the online platform. Their society is run by a council of high-ranking players, which creates an interesting governmental system. Because it's not democratic, the council chooses new members of the council. So it's also not monarchical, like it doesn't pass from them to their physical descendants necessarily. Each council member is responsible for a different geographic location, part of the physical world. So as a result, character advancement in the game is absolutely vital. And it is reflected in the real world because it's thought to show your work ethic, as well as your ability to cooperate and work well with others in terms of dungeons and raids that you've completed. Additionally, because this sort of adjudication, this dueling is important, having a more powerful character also does mean that you're more likely to be able to, it's like being a good shot in a duel. Someone's not going to challenge you as easily if they know that you're a good shot in a duel. Likewise, if you have a higher level character and more powerful items, you're less likely to be challenged by somebody who has a disagreement with you in the real world if they know they're going to have to, face that adjudication in the MMO. As a result, players, instead of playing a variety of different characters and maybe having one as their main character, they tend to focus just on one character and focusing all of their efforts into advancing that character. And everybody grinds because one of the other elements of this particular MMO is permadeath. When your character dies, you lose access to that character. The character is dead and not going to be resurrected, not going to be coming back. There are some spells that make it possible, but they're very rare. So for most people, when their character dies, their character is gone. Along with, of course, all the experience and work that you've put into that character, as well as the fact that the character is now a corpse and, other people can take their stuff. Sometimes I mentally compare this with Ready Player One, which also involves a large-scale MMO that everyone has access to. And in the movie version of that, you really get to see, when someone's character is killed, they just turn into a string of coins that you can then scoop up. And I don't want to say that that's what happens here, but sometimes I get some of the systems confused. As a result of what happened to his mother, the mother had actually challenged the governing council because of a decision that they'd made that it was something about some farm equipment and solar panels, I think. Their family was going to be required to move because they weren't able to meet their quota for, what they were supposed to do. So the mother had approached the council and said, "We feel that this is unfair," and, tried to settle the dispute. But of course, the council has characters that are much more powerful. And the main character felt that this was unfair. And so he starts taking more risks, because of course, this being a YA book, the character's a teenager and still in school, and so he's got a loopy character. And so he takes more risks and gets his character killed. But the result of that is because he's losing characters, he has to start over, and he's losing characters repeatedly. So he becomes significantly less risk averse than everybody else is. All the other players are in the game. Got to start over again anyhow. He really doesn't have anything to lose. And as a result, he actually starts playing the game instead of treating it as a chore like everybody else does. And one of the other features of the story is that this game has been around so long through their culture that the AI in the game has started to develop an emergent self-awareness. It has noticed that there are people who are always there, those are the NPCs, but that there are also people who will disappear and then reappear at the same place later on. And it also notices that the main character's character is one of these disappearing, reappearing people, but is acting differently than the other disappearing, reappearing people. And so this AI is able to actually imbue some of the NPCs with additional awareness. And as a result, one of the NPCs gives the main character a high-level quest known as the Epicus Ultima. And this is a quest that will shut down the game. It is literally a game-ending quest. And for us, MMOs typically don't do this. They just go, and they go, and they go, and they go, and they go, and you have updates and more quests to do. It's an ongoing type of interface, unlike most, single-player video games where you have the storyline and then it ends and you've beat the game. Congratulations. And MMOs typically don't work that way. And what that got me thinking about was the way that American television series have changed somewhat, especially with the advent of streaming services, and also with the influence of, the internet and more access to British television programming that has done things differently. And the idea of, perpetually ongoing storylines, always updated, in contrast to a miniseries or a movie or a book, which is much more often likely to be one story arc with subplots. But once it's done, it's done. Because that can actually create some problems. We see that in ongoing series of television, or like with comic books, that they sort of ebb and flow just in terms of their popularity. They get canceled when they're just not popular enough. And that harms the story because the creators aren't able to plan for this is what the story is going to be, because they can't really tell when something's going to be more or less popular. It becomes, it's more difficult. If something is popular and the story ends, people clamor for more. And, quite often, given the fact that people want money, the producer may give in, say, okay, fine, we'll just make up another story, and, they're not really dead, Sherlock Holmes, but we'll keep going. And what you get as a result isn't as good. So this apparently was something that these particular game developers wanted to create for their game, that once this quest was completed, that would be it. There would be no more game. And so the main character originally wanted to defeat the council and restructure the society that way. But now he has the capability to just dismantle the entire system. I do want to point out, he doesn't entirely know what he's going to do instead of this. And there have been some good things to this system. It was developed because of war and violence, and it's a problem. Let's be real. So the use of this system created the expectation of nonviolent behavior. That was the standard. So there have been some positive results, but at the same time, the stagnation within the system has created some problems. There's a lack of ability to make significant change, important change, and useful, helpful change. And one of the other characters mentions that if we get rid of the game, people spend so much time and energy developing their characters, and that's time and energy that's not being put to, growing more food, developing new technologies, building more comfortable homes or new schools, making art or music. And all of these things could be ways that we make the real world better. We could spend our time and energy in the real world, not the virtual one. So The characters are just a lot of fun. Eric is great when he develops a new character and decides to do something radically different from what most people do, or really everybody that he knows does with their characters. He just has so much fun, and it's really enjoyable just to go along and have adventures with him. But in addition to that, the book also goes on to not make interesting points, but it brings up interesting points to think about in terms of how society is structured and why it works that way and what our expectations are, what they should be or what they could be. As well as this was published originally in 2004, really at the dawn of social media, LiveJournal, MySpace, AOL chat, and of course, Telnet had been around for, well before that, but really getting onto the World Wide Web. And the development of that, it was before, I think it was before Facebook, it was before YouTube. And, but looking at, the question that we've had, that we see it come up a lot, how we spend time interacting with the virtual world versus spending time interacting with the physical world around us, and what the costs and benefits are of each, and what we think about that. It also raises the very important question of how we should go about making the changes that we want to see. And it does this in a way that doesn't provide answers, it doesn't preach, it doesn't provide answers for us, although it does provide answers for the characters in the story. It does provide a sense of closure, and it's fun, it's enjoyable. There's good guys and bad guys, and it's a book that I enjoy a lot. There is a companion book called Saga that unfortunately I didn't like nearly as much. But this one, it's a great romp. It's Epic by Conor Kostick, and I highly recommend it. Thanks for listening, folks. If you are interested in reading more or seeing more about the books that I read, you can check me out on Goodreads. I'm trying to remember to put links in the description. Sometimes I forget. I'm sorry. And anyway, I hope you enjoy this and you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.